It works! It fucking works! Look at that!
This video is sponsored by Sovol 3D with their new SV06. More about them later in the video. I tried to FDM print resin and
It still looks like
it sucked.
shit.
Well, at least it was a nice beer. You asked me why I'm doing this. I managed to get the worst of both worlds on one single platform. Congratulations.
This idea sounds stupid, but there is a good reason why we are doing this. This is our standard printer, which is our experimental platform. And well, hold on.
Okay, so we've got our experimental platform, our standard FDM printer. We've got a proper extruder and a peristaltic pump, which can pump resin. We've got two problems. I need to call our expert Juan from 3D Resins.
You know what I mean?
Sí. Vamos a la playa.
Okay, let me review.
Bueno. ¿Cerveza?
Okay, it's very important to
Okay, with the help from Juan, we can solve these problems and start with a project. So our experimental platform with the proper extruder, it can push fibers because of those belts, and if we infuse those fibers with resin, we can get continuous fiber printing to work. If that works, we can use copper wire for 3D printed electronics. Instead of resin, we can pump ceramics and add steel wire to reinforce that. We can pump glue and put that between the layers, or dissolved polymers. We can even try food printing again. If we use two pumps, one with flexible and one with rigid resin, we can 3D print ourselves wheels with airless tires, add RGB with the 3D printed electronics and use them as indicator lights.
Dude, what the fuck? Wat was dit?
Omdat we dus twee resins hebben we dit alleen denk ik nog wel met het probleem dat we...
Maar moeten we niet eerst gewoon beginnen met die resin fixen?
Dit.
Ja.
the recommendations that I send you. Okay, perfect. You have already the resin ENG3 BioClear. The other additive is the M&B one, is the matte and black. Black is very opaque to light. Therefore, you need to put very, very small quantities. You will need a higher dosage of FD1, the photoaccelerant or photocatalyst. We need to dissipate light. The best additive is a 3D Art Matte one. This one is an ultra-effective matting agent. It's clear, therefore you can add a lot.
This should solve the problems with the reflecting light and curing speed, but there's more. I received a suggestion from my Patreon supporter Patrick Flay to add glass bubbles to turn the resin into a paste. These are very light and used as generic filler for resins. This is hollow glass, so we must be careful with this stuff.
This stuff looks a lot like solder paste, and that's a good thing because it stays in shape, and that's exactly what I wanted to achieve. Before I'm going to just pump it, first I want to check if this actually cures. If it doesn't, then I have to add a bit more of this fine tuner. Okay, well, let's turn on the laser and see if this stuff actually cures. Okay, oh shit. This is cured. This is uncured, yes. Okay, let's put it on there for like 5 seconds. 4, 5. And it's cured. Wow. Okay, this works way better than I expected.
This video is sponsored by Sovol 3D with the new SV06. This printer is surprisingly easy to assemble. It has lots of cool features like a full metal hot end. The all metal direct drive extruder has a planetary gearbox and runs very smooth. The dual Z-axis can be aligned automatically, and it has auto bed leveling for the perfect first layer. If you're looking for a good printer to start with, a printer to experiment with, or just need an extra printer to do the job, look no further. On top of the already affordable price, you get $20 off using the discount code PROPER. More information in the description of this video. Alright, we are ready to start printing with resin. Last time I bought enough tubing, and I can just add that to a 3D printed non-pulsating peristaltic pump. Just add a bit of lube, dip the other end in our custom thick resin and start pumping. Okay, maybe it's too thick. I added a bit more resin to lower its viscosity so we can actually pump it.
There we go.
I decided to call it a day, and the next day I found this.
Okay, that's interesting. These glass microbubbles are so light that they float on top of this resin.
So, I stirred it thoroughly so I could start printing. Matt from Mass Layers sent me his attempt on FDM resin printing, which inspired me to start with this simplified pawn, which I can print in phase mode. This way I get an uninterrupted flow, which makes things easier to print and easier to tune the flow rate.
It's a bit too far from the build plate.
After a couple of attempts, it started to actually print the first layer.
Alright, it's placing a layer.
And that first layer actually looks pretty good.
This actually doesn't look that bad.
It screwed up the rest of the layers though.
No. Oh, it is curing.
We need to stay positive. I had to unclog the nozzle sometimes, and I thought that it might work when I placed the first layer without curing.
And we start in corkscrew mode. Oh, no we don't.
It helps when you slice it correctly. Okay, next attempt.
Okay. Why is it so slow?
I decided that the resin was too thin, so I added more glass bubbles. In the meantime, I want to say thanks to our Patreon supporters, especially these guys, our top tier Patreon supporters. Now we're on to something. If you get the resin to hold its shape just long enough for it to cure, this is going to work.
Right.
This already looks a lot better, but I think we're under extruding.
Because it's it doesn't have excess material. From here to here, it's actually not that bad.
I fine-tuned this and didn't expect any results until...
Oh, wait. Oh. Okay. It's yeah. It fucking works. It works. It fucking works. Look at that. There was even a minor defect, and it was just going over it. Okay, the flow is perfect, and this also shows that the peristaltic pump isn't pulsating, and see how fast this peristaltic pump is actually pumping. This is already going so well that I need maybe just some fine tuning to get it perfect. Okay, come on. No.
We were so close. More fine tuning. Look at that gap it bridged. This gives hope. After some minor adjustments, I settled on a flow rate with best results. I got confident enough to print the rocket we attempted in our first FDM resin video. It's already a lot higher than last time.
Damn, this is going so much better than last time. First attempt at this rocket.
I have to let this sink in.
I printed the rocket. It's not perfect, but it's there. I printed the whole thing. First layer is a bit screwed up, but I think that's because of the layer adhesion. So I'm going to roughen up this plate and make some better looking footage.
Okay, let's try to print a Banshee.
Shit, there is no infill. Okay, stop the print.
The resin is sticking to the nozzle, but it's actually not that bad.
Come on. Okay, stop the print. Shit, no. Okay, this is a different build surface. This is black PVC. I will just let it finish until it pops. Oh, okay. Here we go.
I remembered that we've got these print stickers, which you've probably never heard of. That sort of works, but I added the brim to make it better. I somehow lost my mojo and it didn't print as well as it did before. I tried flushing out the resin to see if that would help. Added more glass bubbles and curing agent. Flushed it even more and decided to do something different.
I'm going to do something different.
Let's make ourselves new resin. Adding the black dye and matting agent, writing everything down to make it scientific. And instead of glass bubbles, I wanted to know if this would work with our volcanic ash. I added a new tube with loop, but after lots of pumping, still nothing.
It looks like there is some clog. Jesus. Oh yes. I also have days like these. This is the consistency I'm after.
Okay, let's see how well this works. More curing agent. This printed better, but this stuck to the nozzle even more. I still got the feeling that this could actually print the Banshee. That's just nozzle scraping. Hopefully this helps us. It even manages to bridge these gaps. This is actually looking very good. It's almost prints like normal filament. I still had to pretend being a chameleon catching a fly though. And this is not the prettiest Banshee. But this resin is able to repair itself during the print instead of making things worse, so this is a huge win. This is not the best looking Banshee. It's more like aquarium decoration. But it is an FDM resin printed Banshee, so I couldn't be happier. I'm still impressed that we are able to actually print this rocket. And remember that the bigger idea behind all this is to get continuous fiber printing to work. But I also want to get this to work, and I do have some ideas which I'm going to show you in our next attempt. In the meantime, you can watch these videos to see how this all started and to get an idea where this is going.